tight race, heartbreak.
The Bristol Motor Speedway in eastern Tennessee, one of NASCAR's most famous tracks, and tonight hosting some of its most famous personalities in a very special event. This racetrack's been around since 1961 in the hills of East Tennessee. It's changed a lot over the years, growing with the sport's growth. But some of those who helped write some of the important chapters in stock car racing's history have come back for a special race on a Saturday night.
ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents the first race of the new millennium is moments away.
ESPN welcomes you to the Saturday Night Showdown at Bristol. A race for fun to benefit charity with some of stock car racing's all-time greats climbing back behind the wheel. 12 drivers accounting for 244 major stock car wins have come back to Bristol Motor Speedway, a place where they've created so much history, names any longtime fan of stock car racing knows by heart. While most have been long retired from competitive action, they're here to feel the thrill of the fight and bask in the spotlight at one of the sport's great venues. And make no mistake, they all intend on taking home the trophy at the end of the night. And down here in the middle of this great concrete coliseum, I'm Alan Bestwick. Thanks for joining us for our Saturday Night Showdown at Bristol. With the possible exception of Brett Favre, when high-level athletes retire from competition in their sport, it's rare to see them back on the field of play. Imagine watching Hank Aaron or Willie Mays walk up into the batter's box, or Terry Bradshaw or the Steel Curtain defense go out onto the football field once more. Well, that's going to happen right now as 12 drivers who've written so much stock car racing history climb back behind the wheel here at one of the sport's great venues. Yes, they're racing to raise money for charity. Yes, they're here to have fun. But I can tell you now, what separates this from other old-timers days is that they're going to do it at over 100 miles an hour. And by the way, I'm glad they're not too close to me to hear me say Old Timers Day, because I'd probably get slugged. The schedule for the day, a couple of minutes behind schedule, because the Nationwide Series race of earlier has run a little bit overtime. So the drivers going out onto the racetrack now just to get their first few minutes of warm-ups in these cars that they'll run here today. Then they'll bring them down pit road, introduce them to the crowd that's here, and then turn them loose for 35 laps here on the world's fastest half mile. Some of the color schemes longtime fans of NASCAR will well recognize as these drivers head out for some warm-up laps. These cars that they're running are not cars that they've brought with them. These are cars that the Bristol Motor Speedway has put together that normally run on the USAR Pro Cup Series. There's David Pearson, the Silver Fox, and boy, what a familiar paint scheme that is to longtime fans of NASCAR racing. Pearson getting ready to go. He was supposed to run this race a year ago, was not able to be in it because of a little back problem, but he's back here today, and he's looking for a trophy here at Bristol. Still waiting to head out onto the racetrack, Cale Yarborough, one of the all-time greats of the sport. And for more on the story of Cale Yarborough and, boy, his many accomplishments here at Bristol, let's go down to pit road and Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Alan, Cale Yarborough is tied for second all-time with wins here at Bristol Motor Speedway. 9 victories, tying Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Rusty Wallace. When I talked to Cale a moment ago, as they were buckling me in the car, he was smiling from ear to ear. He said, "Doc, it's just like I've never left. I'm excited to get back in the car. I want to get on the racetrack, and I want to be in victory lane for win number 10 when this day is over." These guys are serious about getting back on the track and reliving some great memories here of NASCAR at Bristol.
So much attention last fall when Jimmy Johnson was about to break his record for consecutive championships in stock car racing, and he was in this race a year ago, and he came out of it with a huge smile. And Cale said last fall, when so many people were talking to him, he said, "I want to do it again." Well, he's here tonight and about to head out onto the racetrack for some warm-up laps. We mentioned last year's race. The drivers went at it last year in a similar event, 35 laps here on the Bristol half mile. Some of them racing cars that they had prepared and brought themselves, some in cars that others had prepared. It was quite a night here at Bristol 1 year ago.
We're going to watch some drivers whose legendary careers span some 5 decades climb back in a race car.
You got to sit back in your house, pull your seatbelts down, and get ready for a shootout.
Green flag. Rusty Wallace making a move inside.
Rusty's headed toward the front.
Here comes comes LD Ottinger now getting racing. I guess you never forget about how to ride a bicycle or drive a race car. And LD Ottinger's getting it done. And Sterling Marlin has led from the drop of the green flag. Comes back in a Legends race and wins it at Bristol.
Live back at Bristol Motor Speedway, getting ready for the Saturday night showdown at Bristol. A couple of final warm-up laps ongoing for some of the 12 legends who are going to run 35 laps here tonight. Let's hear from some of them who've already finished their warm-ups. Vince Welch is standing by. Vince, who you got?
With Larry Pearson, a two-time Nationwide Series champion. He won a couple of races here at Bristol. And Larry, you went out for some practice laps. How did it feel to be back out in the car here?
Oh, it felt great. I got a really good car, and it's a little on the tight side, but I'm sort of scared to mess with it right now. I made that mistake last year.
Is that the car or the driver that was a little on the tight side?
Excuse me?
The car or the driver was a little on the tight side?
Well, the driver's been tight all day. But, no, the car's just a little on the tight side in one end. I'm good down here in 3 and 4, but down in 1 and 2 it's a little tight. But I want to take this opportunity to thank Swisher International for coming on board with me again this year. And hopefully we'll get them a lot of exposure.
We mentioned that you'd won a couple of times here at Bristol. What's a moment that stands out specifically for you?
Honestly, it wasn't when I won, but the time that I probably 85, 86, maybe 87. I don't really know. It's too long ago. But me and Dale Earnhardt, when he was driving the old Chevy 2, I think he had, me and him battled most of the race, and that was a lot of fun. But I've always loved coming to Bristol. It's a great track. I've always ran really, really well here. I only have 2 wins, but I should have a lot more. But you know, it's just a lot of fun to come back, and I really appreciate Bristol Motor Speedway for putting this on for us and letting us come back up and race.
Thanks, Larry. Great to see you. Larry Pearson. Let's go to Jamie Little.
And Rick Wilson, another one of those legends. He's had a couple laps out there already, working up the sweat in the car right now, but he too has some great memories here. Back in 1989, he won his first Nationwide Series, what was then the Busch Series, from the pole. What a day that must have been. What was that day like for you back in 1989?
Well, it was one of them days that just, were kind of unreal. The car was so great. I mean, about anywhere we could go. Charlie Henderson, the Food Country Gang, gave me a great car that day. And, it's just one of those days you look back and say, boy, that was a perfect race car.
Well, Rick, I got to ask you, I see the sweat building up on your face. You've been out there a couple laps. What was it like?
Oh, I tell you what, it's great to be back here at Bristol. First time I've been here since they redid the track. And, hey, it's still a great racetrack. Got a great race car. Food Country car is going to be good today.
Hey, have a great time. Rick Wilson in the 75 car. Doc?
Let's see if you know who this is in this car here. Now, we're going to give you a shot of the shoes. Now, driving, there's the floorboard, and he is wearing wingtips. Who was it always drove wearing wingtips and that coveted Goodyear hat? Well, none other than Dave Marcus, and the 69-year-old Wausau, Wisconsin driver is back in the car, and he has turned some pretty quick laps. Dave, how's it feel to be back in a race car?
Feels really good. I mean, better than I thought.
You got up to speed pretty quickly. You think you got a good shot at pulling this one off?
Well, I mean, you never know, Jerry. A lot of us haven't driven in a long time. I mean, I haven't driven since I retired. Of course, I've done IROC cars up till the fall of '06. But the car feels good, and I feel comfortable in it. And, got it up to speed pretty quick. I'm happy with it.
And you got him. You're one of the youngest guys in the field at 69.
Is that right? Well, maybe that's an advantage, huh?
Hey, have some fun, Dave.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. And I want to say hi to everybody at Camp 28 in Rib Lake.
All right, Dave Marcus coming down. He's retired up in Wisconsin running a hunting camp. Let's go to Alan Bestwick.
All right, Doc, thanks. I'll tell you were talking about Dave getting out there up to speed in practice. Some of these guys went out in just a couple laps. They were running in the pack, and you could see those competitive juices flowing. I think this is going to be an awful lot of fun to watch this Saturday night showdown in a couple of minutes. So, again, they've just finished some warm-ups, giving the drivers a couple of minutes to get their thoughts together, do the driver introductions, and then they're going to turn them loose for 35 laps. And the men who call the action for us upstairs, Marty Reed with Dale Jarrett and Rusty Wallace. Gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Alan. And I don't know if you can see a timing monitor, but listen to some of these times. Fastest in that brief practice, Harry Gant at 118 miles an hour. That's 16.2 seconds. That's flying.
Yeah, if you look at Harry Gant, though, this day, I swear he could get back in a Nationwide car or a Cup car and get the job done.
Well, you're exactly right. These guys haven't lost a touch. I mean, you talk about the speed that Harry just run right there, 16:20. That was the same speed as the last 5 laps of the Nationwide race we just saw a little while ago. So he jumped in this car, and he's just fast right off the bat.
Phil Parsons was second at 117 miles an hour. L.D. Ottinger, he ran really well here last year. He's going to be a factor in this, I think, as well. And there's Harry at age 70 behind the wheel of the familiar green and white 33.
Yeah, and one of the great short track racers of all time, Jack Ingram there in that 11 car. You better watch out for him. He still knows how to get it done.
Well, let's also talk about some of the legends of the sport. David Pearson got out there as well. He was 9th fastest on the charts. And we mentioned he was not able to run the race last year. And who can forget the fact that the Silver Fox and Richard Petty had all those wonderful battles. In fact, I've always said if a guy by the name of Richard Petty had never been born, we'd be calling David Pearson the king. Let's go to Vince.
What a terrific, a true legend indeed. 3-time Cup champion, 105 Cup wins, 2nd all-time. And David, glad that you could be in the race this season. We're talking about some of the practice laps you turned there. How is this car different, or something maybe that's a little different than you're not used to?
It's a lot different, to tell you the truth. Of course, I'm having trouble with the clutch. The clutch is not releasing like it ought to be. And it's got a left foot brake, and I am no left foot driver. You know, I can't use the brakes with my left foot. And, of course, when I try to cruise my right foot way over there on that side, I hit the throttle coming back, so I can't find the throttle. So it just takes time for me to get used to it.
Those things aside, how's it feel to be back in a race car at Bristol?
Oh, it feels good as far as that goes, come back. And the car runs real good. It runs great. I just got to get used to the car and, and get used to the handling of it.
David Pearson, indeed. Boy, they termed it right when they said legend in reference to this gentleman. Guys?
And how about a guy who he's already told you he won 9 times at Bristol. He is the only driver to ever lead every single lap at Bristol Motor Speedway. Cale Yarborough, you led all 500 laps here in one of your 9 wins. How's it feel to be back in the car?
Well, it feels good. I've always loved Bristol, but doing something one time a year doesn't make you very good at it. But we're just out here to have fun, and really good to be back and see a lot of the fans, see a lot of these old guys that I've raced with all my years. So just a lot of fun.
What did you do to get in shape to get back in the car? I know you do a lot of work outside, but how about physically? What did you do to prepare for this day?
I didn't do anything especially to prepare for it. When it's over with, I may wish I had.
Hey, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Folks, Cale Yarborough will be 72 years old next week, Alan, and he is smiling ear to ear. You can see him in the car. He's ready to rock and roll once again at Bristol.
It is so fun, Doc, to hear his voice inside that helmet talking about this race. Cale Yarborough, one of the 12 legends, getting ready to go in the Saturday night showdown at Bristol. They're getting him ready. We're going to turn him loose in a little while for 35 laps on the world's fastest half mile. I think it's going to be a scream. Back at Bristol Motor Speedway in Thunder Valley, one of NASCAR's great venues, where tonight a number of stock car racing's great drivers are ready to run the Saturday night showdown. 12 drivers going to run 35 laps. The race benefits charity, but most of all, it just gets us a chance to see some of the sport's all-time greats climb back behind the wheel once again. One of those greats is with Jamie Little.
He's definitely one of the original journeymen of what is now called the Nationwide Series. Tommy Houston, what a run he had in this very series, helping to put it on the map. We're going to show a little bit of that racing action. His guys excited, running over the wall. We're showing some of the footage of one of your wins, Tommy. What is one of the best memories you have here at Bristol?
Well, I've had a lot of good memories here. I remember when the track was really rough and we ran real well. And I remember when we led a lot of the race, and Martin thought the race was over with and pulled in that time. And David Green won the race and we ran second. But, I've got a lot of really, really good memories. I come here when it wasn't nothing except a concrete grandstand, and that was it. So I'm happy to be here.
These guys came out last year and had a lot of fun, Tommy. What made you come out this time around?
Well, like I say, Wayne invited me, and I was really proud that he did. And, I've got a sponsor, Jewelry Exchange, on the car and for the car. And, then Jack McNally and all his guys, they've been so nice to furnish a car, so I'm going to try to do them proud today.
All right. Well, you have fun, go fast, and thank you for all you've done in this Nationwide Series. He'll be in the number 6 car. Alan?
So much fun to hear Tommy Houston as well, getting ready to go here at Bristol today. Have seen that man race thousands of laps. Great gentleman, a great racer, and glad to have him here in the Saturday Night Showdown. So we're getting ready for the command to fire engine shortly, and then we're going to have the green flag and see these stock car racing legends out at Bristol for 35 laps of fun. That is when we come back to Thunder Valley. Getting ready with the Saturday Night Showdown here at Bristol Motor Speedway. 12 stock car racing greats are strapped aboard their machines. This is a legendary track, and one of the men who founded it is going to give the command to start engines to get these legends underway.
Going off A out of Timmonsville, South Carolina, three-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, Cale Yarborough. Car number 21 out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, going off in the 9th position.
And the Jeff mentioned, Jeff Bird, track president, who is recuperating, dealing with an illness, and this race his brainchild, and we certainly look forward to seeing Jeff back here with us for next year's running of the Saturday Night Showdown. So the engines have fired, the cars are rolling off onto the racetrack, and that can only mean one thing. It's about time to go racing. Let's go upstairs to Marty Reed, Dale Jarrett, and Rusty Wallace. Gentlemen, this should be fun.
Yes, it should, Alan. And let's explain how these gentlemen obtained their positions on the grid. For example, L.D. Ottinger is going to be on the pole. It is thanks to the courtesy of Justin Allgaier winning the race. That's right. There were certain drivers in the race earlier today. For example, Jimmy Hensley had Brad Keselowski. Keselowski finished second, so Hensley starts second. Kyle Busch finishes in the top field and third, and so Jack Ingram is third. So that gives you an idea. There's your starting lineup with Tommy Houston, Dave Marcus, Harry Gant, Charlie Glotzbach, Rick Wilson, Larry Pearson, Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, and Phil Parsons. Let's dial up our in-race reporter. It's handsome Harry Gant.
Harry Gant, Rusty Wallace up here in the ESPN booth. You got us?
I got you loud and clear.
Harry, it's been a long time since you've been here, and this racetrack's brand new since you drove it. What's it feel like out there?
Feels pretty good so far. Only got to run 5 laps.
All right, buddy, you have a great race out there. We'll be pulling for you.
Appreciate it.
We should point out we do have one to the rear. Jimmy Hensley, actually they changed cars, and since he was not that familiar with it, he is scheduled to be in the number 7. He is now in the number 68, so he's going to pull to the rear of the field. Other than that, everybody is there's Jimmy, and so he'll pull to the back of the field as we get ready for 35 laps of racing, and green flag racing at that. Yellows will not count.
Hey, well, but how cool do these cars look? They've got these things painted up like these guys drove in their heyday, and really good-looking race cars.
About 200 pounds heavier than last year's cars that they drove, which were late model stocks. These are Pro Cup cars from the Hooters Pro Cup Series. And what the guys are trying to do now is form up into a 4-wide salute to the fans, and that's a pretty cool deal.
That is a pretty cool deal. They got to be careful doing that. So
good luck with that.
That's pretty tight quarters out there to try something like that. Looks like they're going to pull it off, though.
We won't be giving them any ideas here for 4-wide racing. They see that it is possible to get 4-wide on here. They don't need to do that at speed. I think they all understand that.
The youngest in the field is Phil Parsons at the age of 52. And the oldest, Jack Ingram, at the age of, no, David Pearson, I should say, at the age of 75. Jack's 73.
One thing I've noticed about these guys, talking to them earlier, is that they really, they all say we're here to put a show on. But I will promise you, Dale, these guys all want to win. I know L.D. Ottinger was strong, Jack Ingram, Harry Gant. And we saw that real fast lap earlier out of Harry Gant, 16:20. Very fast lap.
Hey, they might be older now, but they haven't lost that competitive spirit. And when they get in these race cars, they want to go as fast as they can make the car go.
All right, we've got an onboard camera with Harry as our in-race reporter, and there he is with no gloves. That's a NASCAR violation these days.
Open face helmet, that's what they used to drive, the bubble goggles. Hey, we both drove those type of helmets before in the past, that's for sure.
And you're bringing back a lot of memories here.
He hasn't aged a bit. Look at him.
I'm telling you, if you'd walk up to him on the street, you'd say, my gosh, this is back when Harry Gant was winning races in the late 80s and early 90s in the Cup Series.
70 years old. We mentioned the fact these cars are 200 pounds heavier, 150 more horsepower than last year's car, but they are running a different tire than they're running a BF Goodrich tire instead of what we would normally see in NASCAR with a Goodyear.
Yeah, and I watched one of these races with the BF Goodrich's here a couple years ago, and the tires really stuck good, and they were fast. They run all day long, over 200 laps. So they're on a really good tire, and they got really aerodynamic cars. And like you said, I mean, things are really prepared well and fast cars.
2 more pace laps, and then we will go green for 35 green flag laps here on the world's fastest half mile as the man behind the wheel of the pace car, Junior Johnson. There he is.
That's really cool. The car's pretty cool, too.
That's that Ford Sunliner, that was a great car.
Dale, I think one thing I'm a little concerned about is for David Pearson. I mean, a lot of guys are left foot breakers and right foot breakers. This particular car he's driving, he was just telling us, it looks like it's set up for left foot braking, and that's going to give him a problem.
Yeah, if you haven't done that, and a lot of cars that are built this day and time, unless you build them another way, are built for drivers to use that left foot. But most of these guys came up through racing using just one foot on the brake and the gas.
We mentioned Junior Johnson driving the pace car. He raced in this event last year. Up on the tower, who will be waving the green flag, will be a 4-time Bristol winner. There he is, Bobby Allison.
And that guy right there is my mentor. He taught me a lot about racing. Used to race in Birmingham, Alabama, go to his race shops, and he was one of the first guys to invent the front steering system on these race cars. He's a real innovator.
84 career wins. A legend in the sport and a bunch of legends out on the racetrack. And there is the trophy that goes to the winner here at the end of 35 laps. Sit back and enjoy, folks. Relive some of your favorite memories as it is L.D. Ottinger bringing them down on the inside of the front row with the number 6 at Tommy Houston right alongside. And we're green at Bristol. Boy, and L.D. says, see ya, fellas.
And I'll tell you, we talked last year, if you happened to watch the race, how fast he was as he got more used to driving these cars around this racetrack.
This race last year, I finished second, and LD was really running me down big time. In fact, a couple more laps, I was going to get past. But this guy is really good here at Bristol, the old racetrack, and a lot of these guys are adjusting to it. Hey, pass off at turn 2.
Jack Ingram sticking his nose in there trying to pass Tommy Houston. And well, that's been said a lot of times.
And Harry Gant in the 33 right behind him there. And right now, it's a battle for second spot because LD has checked out.
I thought Harry was going to try to make that top side. Here comes Rick Wilson up on the top trying to pass Harry Gant.
Now, Harry Gant in this past career has always been known to run on the top side of the racetrack. Gets a lot of momentum up there. And Harry's going to stay in the top, it looks like, and try to make it work.
Harry in the 33. The 11 is Jack Ingram. The 6 car, of course, is Tommy Houston. Then a little bit further back, you can see the 75. That's Rick Wilson as he's trying to work his way up. Also the 71 of Dave Marcus and the 66 of Phil Parsons.
Now, I think LD slowed down a little and let these boys catch up. He wants to race. He's not here just to go out and run laps, 35 laps around here. He wants to race a little bit.
I know these guys are running tight right now. They're just really feeling their cars out. I mean, it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take 10 or 15 laps because like Harry Gant said, he only had 5 laps of practice in this car.
Yeah, well, LD better get on it now because Harry's liking that high groove.
Yeah, remember.
Here he comes with Rick Wilson.
He's got the outside line, and he's going for the pass. And here he is on the high side. And Harry Gant, the oldest winner in Sprint Cup Series history, takes the lead. And all of a sudden, LD has drifted back to 3rd.
The second is Rick Wilson. Now, Rick's won here before. He's been strong at this racetrack in the past. And he wants this win bad. And see if he's going to try the top of the track. Harry's guarding him up there.
Harry was 52 years, 7 months, and 6 days old when he won in Michigan in August of '92, the oldest Sprint Cup race winner.
A little bit behind these guys. Jack Ingram finally did get around the 6 of Tommy Houston. You see Larry Pearson coming on the inside there. I raced a lot against Larry Pearson coming up through in the Busch Series.
See the Silver Fox David Pearson right there in 17th. We talked earlier about the problem with the brake, but here's a pass for the lead, Rick Wilson.
And Wilson is going to take over the top spot as we have had now 10 green flag laps under our belt here at Bristol. And these guys are running some very good speeds. I mean, 117 miles an hour for the last lap.
Watching lap times around, like you said, 16:30.
Oh, tough break for Cale Yarborough. He has engine smoke, and they are bringing him into pit road. So Cale will likely not finish as the window net comes down. Tough break.
Oh, man, I hate to see that. I really want to see Cale run. I mean, he wanted to win this thing bad, that's for sure.
See Phil Parsons there trying to get around L.D. Ottinger. They get battled a lot in the Busch Series back in the 80s.
I'll tell you what, Dale, it's hard to call this race because I find myself just watching it because I appreciate what these guys are doing, and it was so much fun racing them when you and I were able to do that with them.
Well, let's get an update on what happened to Cale Yarborough, Doc.
Well, Cale Yarborough said when they waved the green flag, the thing began to tighten up, and it got harder and harder, and it got tighter and tighter. And obviously, these cars are owned by regular Pro Cup drivers, so he didn't want to take a chance on having the engine come apart. So he just backed it down here and came down pit road. A tough break for a driver who was so excited to be back here and maybe get win number 10 at Bristol.
L.D. Ottinger in third, and right behind him, Phil Parsons in fourth. As you see on the right side of your screen, Cale getting ready to climb out of the car.
Especially what I think you're talking about, just watching these guys. What's really cool, we kind of grew up, we're at an age that we grew up watching a lot of these guys race, and then we had the opportunity to race with a lot of the guys. I think we finally figured out we raced with and against each one except for Charlie Glotzback.
And we've got a caution flag flying as we have debris on the racetrack. And I got to tell you, 2 laps ago, Rick Wilson ran 120 miles an hour in that 75 car. The 2-time winner in the Nationwide Series, including 1 win at Bristol, another at Dover, is out in front once again. Here's the pass that put him into the lead as he went underneath Harry Gant. Stay with us. We still got a lot more fun from here at Bristol Motor Speedway.
The legends have returned to Bristol Motor Speedway. The Saturday night showdown at Bristol. And the leaderboard, Rick Wilson, our leader, Harry Gant, L.D. Ottinger, Phil Parsons, and Jack Ingram, the top 5. And Cale Yarborough having to climb out of the car. Cale, I haven't seen you smile that much in a long time.
Well, I was having a good time. These boys had a new car here, and they had some engine problems back in the week when they were testing it, but we had more engine problems today. Never did run right, but I was having a good time.
Cale Yarborough, a 9-time winner out of it as we go back to green. Guys?
And it's Rick Wilson in the 75 on point with Phil Parsons right behind him. And Parsons going to get around the 33 of Harry Gant, take over second spot on the restart. And the boys just did their first double file restart, I think, in history, too.
Sure did.
Only took some of them age 75 to get to experience that moment.
Yeah, it shows Rick Wilson was paying attention in our Nationwide race. He chose that outside to restart in.
We saw him during the race standing up outside the racetrack. David Pearson and Rick Wilson and all the drivers really watching this race. The Nationwide race had just finished. They learned a lot from that.
That's David Pearson in the 17, and he gets into the position now, moves ahead of Dave Marcus, and move him into the 8th spot. And something wrong now with Harry Gant's car.
Yeah, it looks like Harry's having some problems. Look like you can hear it cutting out right there.
Boy, a tough break for Harry. He was the quickest in the abbreviated practice session that the guys had. And you can see he has now been passed by the 6 car of Tommy Houston, so that would put him back in about 11th position.
You saw him reach up and try to switch the ignition switches to get the thing fired back up, so he's definitely got ignition problem with that 33 car. He can still mess with it and try to get it going before it gets lapped here by Rick Wilson, who's running him down hard right now.
Wilson at age 57 in front of the youngest in the field, the 52-year-old Phil Parsons. A little bit further back, as you can see, that's Charlie Glotzbach in the number 3. And Charlie, the only guy in this field that neither one of you had ever raced against.
Yeah. I never have. Have you?
No, sure didn't. No, he was a little bit before our time, I guess, but great competitor. I remember watching him race.
There's his second place runs at Daytona back in 69 and 72. We can tell you that Harry Gant has made it back to pit road. So it looks like his day is unfortunately over as we are working the 24th of 35 laps, and the Silver Fox continues to work his way towards the front. He is now running in 7th position ahead of Dave Marcus, and Charlie Glotzbach is slowing on the racetrack, so that will give him another position. Charlie was running 4th.
I don't know what's going on, but it looks like some of these guys just keep having engine problems with these cars. they're running awful fast. I mean, if you're a racer, you pay attention to lap times, really not miles per hour. These guys are down in a 15-second bracket. That's faster than Nationwide cars just finished.
Let's go back and take another look. Keep an eye on the 3. Whoa. Oh, there's our problem.
There we go.
First contact with the safer barrier. And there's the stripe on the right side to attest to it.
Charlie can say I hit the wall. It wasn't hard as it used to be a long time ago. I noticed that.
I have a feeling he isn't going to say that. Whoa, piece of debris out on the track, and that'll give us another caution. And remember, the caution laps do not count, so we'll have 10 laps to go when we go back to green flag racing. So it is still Rick Wilson in front of Phil Parsons, L.D. Ottinger in third, now Jack Ingram fourth, and Larry Pearson rounding out your top 5 as the day is over for Charlie Glossbach and Harry Gant. Stay with us. ESPN's your NBA destination. First at 8 Eastern, it is San Antonio and Atlanta. Then at 10:30 Eastern, Trailblazers take on the Suns. The NBA special edition on ESPN and ESPN360.com. And that's all tomorrow. Our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. You can learn how to win $1 million by just going to directtv.com/NASCAR. And as we get ready to go back to green flag racing, we can tell you that Charlie Glotzbach did get back out onto the racetrack. So he is a couple of laps down, but going to continue. It is Rick Wilson, Phil Parsons, L.D. Ottinger, Jack Ingram, Larry Pearson, and Dave Marcus. That's your top 6, followed by David Pearson, Tommy Houston, Jimmy Hensley, Charlie Glotzbach. The cars that are still on the track. And we're back to green flag racing with 10 laps to go.
Rick Wilson has flat been getting through that gearbox. He did a big jump on Phil Parsons that time.
Well, the guy I'm still amazed with, as we look back a little bit further in the field, and you can see Jack Ingram as he is duking it out with Larry Pearson. That's a little bit further back as a battle for 4th continues. The guy right in front of him, L.D. Ottinger, age 71, proved that last year was no fluke. He's running 3rd. Look at him there.
These guys haven't lost much at all. They really haven't. I mean, I know I'm harping on these lap times, but that's how I'm judging how they're running, and they're really laying some big laps down. He almost hit it. What was he? 3rd last year, LD was. And this is a race he wanted to get back to and run real bad, so he's doing a great job out there.
See his best finish here at Bristol, a 2nd place. We've caught up with Harry Gant. Dave Burns, I think you got him.
Yeah, Marty, pretty obvious he had a great car before the motor went south there. Harry, how good was that car?
It was real good. Birdie and the guys, they done a super job on this thing. It was great. I was saving the right rear a little bit, running a little loose.
And it was definitely the power plant, right? Definitely the power plant, right?
Oh, yeah. It broke a valve spring, or a couple of them, I think, maybe on the restart, because it felt like it got a little weaker right before that.
Thanks, Harry. Did you hear him, Marty? He was saving it. He had something left.
Oh, I'll tell you, this is so much fun. Bad news for Dave Marcus fans. Oh, no, and Larry Pearson's going to slam the wall as he turns it around. Oh! And Charlie Glotzbach T-bones him. Red flag is immediately displayed at start-finish. A wicked hit right on the driver's side door. And we will wait and hope for the best here, because that is the worst possible spot to get hit in one of these cars. And they need the ambulance. You can see these guys waving. All right, folks, all the fun is just the balloon has burst a little bit for all of us. Think positive thoughts. Don't want any injuries in this deal. So Larry, the 56-year-old from Spartanburg, South Carolina, will get an update from medical officials as soon as possible. For right now, we'll just step aside and, as I said, think good thoughts. Back here at our Saturday night showdown at Bristol Motor Speedway, and what has been a wonderful evening right now all of a sudden has taken a very serious turn after a turn 2 crash involving Charlie Glotzbach and Larry Pearson. Medical workers are still working on the 21 car that Larry was driving, and we have no word yet from officials as far as his condition, so we will not speculate. What we will do is take one more break and come back here to Bristol. All right, back here at Bristol Motor Speedway at our Saturday night showdown, where with about 4 laps remaining, we are under a red flag condition after a very violent 2-car crash. And there is Charlie Glotzbach as he has climbed out of his car. And Charlie, at the age of 71, from Edwardsville, Indiana, being assisted over to the medical care unit. And it's good to see that he is walking with some assistance, but getting some oxygen there. And there you see in the distance the crews working on the 21 of Larry Pearson. We still do not have any word from medical officials, so unfortunately there's nothing we can tell you right now other than that they are working at extricating Larry Pearson. Stay with us. Back here at Bristol Motor Speedway, we continue under our red flag situation after a very violent 2-car crash involving Charlie Glotzbach and Larry Pearson. We can tell you in our Saturday night showdown that Charlie Glotzbach did walk with some assistance, but he is on his way to the infield care center to be checked out. But to get more on Larry Pearson's situation, let's bring in the man who knows the most of all of us, and that's for sure is Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Well, guys, you hate to have to report when you're a medical doctor or when you're a trauma doc to see these things happen at the racetrack. And as you see what's happening, what they're trying to, the big orange board they're using, that is a backboard. And they've been very, very deliberate and very careful to pull some of these roll bars and pipes away to be able to get the board underneath Larry Pearson and be able to strap him with that board and pull him straight up out of the race car. You don't want to bend him. You don't want to move him. You see them putting him on that backboard. They have an oxygen bag and a mask on him, and so he would put him on the backboard and put him in an ambulance and take him out. His brother Ricky Pearson, his brothers Ricky Pearson and Eddie Pearson are there. They have sent someone over to talk to his dad David and let him know what's going on. But they have been able to get now Larry Pearson out of the car. We'll put him in an ambulance and take him to a nearby medical center, probably in Johnson City. So they are being very deliberate, which is what they should be. And again, the reason it's taking so long is because the car did the roll. In the old days, these roll cages were very, very close to the driver, and you want to make sure you pull the bars away from the driver and free up the legs in the lower part of the roll cage, because it was a very violent impact there in the driver's door.
Doc, has anybody given you any indication of his medical condition at any point here?
They have not so far, and I've seen them come over and talk to Eddie Pearson and Ricky Pearson, the two brothers who are standing there, and they have sent for a car so they can go to the medical center to meet the ambulance when it arrives there as soon as it leaves here in just a few minutes. So,
all right, thanks for the update, Doc, and I know you'll pass along any further information that you get from down there on the scene. And as we said, folks, just keep thinking positive thoughts. We will pass along anything that we can get before we go off the air and before the end of this event. Back here at Bristol Motor Speedway, our red flag situation continues, and we have just had word from Dr. Jerry Punch. He has an update on the condition of injured driver Larry Pearson. Doc?
And Marty, I just spoke with Ricky Pearson, who is the brother for Larry Pearson. Ricky told me he talked to Larry. He said Larry was knocked unconscious. The accident, the impact rendered him unconscious in the car, which is what took him so long to get him out. They had to cut the bars around him off and load him on a backboard. But Ricky said that Larry did speak with him. He was moving both arms. He was able to communicate with both his brothers and talk to them. And in Ricky's term, he was awake and alert. They're going to take him to the hospital for some x-rays. And so they are all breathing a major sigh of relief over here, at least in the Pearson family.
Well, so are we all, Doc. Thanks for that news. It's probably the best news that we could have gotten, considering the situation, the way that car was hit right on that driver's side door, and you can see how far it caved in. So, wow, just that makes the day a lot better.
That was a very, very hard hit. There is no doubt about that. I mean, that car really caved in good. It was great to see Larry hear from his brother that he's talking, because I got to tell you, if I was in that car, I'd have for sure been knocked out. No doubt about that one. That was hardest. I think that's probably the hardest hit I've seen in years.
Yeah, and we talk about these kind of things can happen here, and Ricky and Larry Pearson are two guys that I grew up with around the racetrack as kids. We were playing as our dads were racing, so we just wish all the Pearson family and certainly Larry the best here.
We're going to step aside one more time. They are going to restart the race here at Bristol, so stay with us. We're probably going to go over our allotted time, but we'll get the last 5 in. Back here at Bristol Motor Speedway, where our red flag situation continues, let's update you if you are just tuning in. We've just passed the bottom of the hour with about, officially 5 laps remaining in this Legends race. A very severe crash involving Charlie Glotzbach slamming into the driver's side door of a spinning Larry Pearson. And we did, just before we went to commercial break, that's the remains of Charlie Glotzbach's car, get an update from Dr. Jerry Punch. He talked to Larry's brother. Larry's brother said he was alert, that he was able to talk to him. They are transporting him as we speak to a Johnson City hospital. If we get further information, we will pass it on. Now, we are going to show you this one time in real speed, and we want to warn you that this is a violent crash. So if you've got young ones and you don't want to see it, turn away right now.
Larry gets in the corner, just gets a little loose right there, spins, kind of a normal deal. Looks like the left rear tire is down on the car.
And then there's where Charlie comes in, right on the driver's side door. And as Dr. Jerry Punch confirmed, he had been knocked unconscious, but did regain consciousness, was talking to his brother when they transported him from here at Bristol Motor Speedway to a local hospital. And there are the remains of what's left of Larry's car as they try and load it on the flatbed. Let's get an update on Charlie Glotzbach's situation. We saw him walk away from the car. Jamie Little, I think you've got more?
Yes, medical just told me that he was knocked unconscious. Now, they have loaded him back up in the ambulance. They are transporting him to the local hospital in Bristol as a precaution. Now, he did have some cuts on him, but he says he is okay. And as you said, he walked in there. But as for further evaluation, they're going to take him to the hospital.
Well, and that's a good move. And obviously, that's good news. Thank you, Jamie. And, we just hate to see this. We were having so much fun watching these legends out there, having a great time just doing laps. And sometimes we all forget that, they're still doing 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, we just talked about the speeds, and Rusty, you'd mentioned how fast they were running around here, and the one thing, but maybe a couple of things. These race cars are very safe. They've built very well. Maybe they're not up to the same standards as what the Cup cars are as far as what the thickness of the roll bars and things have to be. Don't really know that for sure, but you can see how that speed automatically caved that in. So, but they did a great job with the building of the cars.
And one other thing we don't know, Rusty, is I don't think that there were any spotters out there. So, Charlie, people, you have a tendency you can't see through that A pillar post when you're in that corner sometimes.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there, Marty, though. I can't blame it on not having a spotter, though. This particular incident looks like Larry blew a left rear tire. The car went up the racetrack, hit the wall. And a lot of drivers, including myself, when I see a driver up against a wall, a lot of times I gas it up to go down low to try to outrun the car that's coming across the track. Now, it looks like Charlie just kept his same speed and just had nowhere to go at that moment. But, I'm in the same ballpark as Dale is. These cars are very, very safe. This is the worst thing you want to see a driver have happen to you, get hit in the door. But NASCAR, they've done a really good job with the extra foam in between the door and the roll cage, things like that, to make that better.
All right, so they are finishing the cleanup process here. If we do get more word from the hospital, we will certainly pass it on. We'll take another break and come back to wrap up Saturday Night Showdown. Back here at Bristol Motor Speedway, the cleanup continues after our red flag situation involving the two-car crash of Charlie Glotzbach and also Larry Pearson. That is David Pearson. That is a live shot of him. He is putting his helmet away. Obviously, he has withdrawn from the race. 5 laps remaining, and he is going to head to the hospital. Let's get more from Vince Welch.
Well, guys, even before the accident, they were considering bringing David Pearson in because he had grazed the wall a little bit earlier and had knocked the toe out of the car, and it was becoming very difficult to handle. And then once the accident took place, they radioed to David, and David at that point was going to stay in the car until the race finished. But because of the way the car is handling and the situation involving his son Larry, he's decided to go ahead and get out of the car, get changed, and get to the hospital. And probably in the best sense of things, the right decision to make.
And that was his youngest son, Eddie, going in with him there into the area right down there behind pit road. And, you know, certainly understandable. I mean, if it was Steven, you'd probably be heading for the hospital, too.
No, absolutely. There's just no doubt about that. I mean, just like he said, though, I mean, he's a racer, but the car is tore up a little bit. There's no reason to keep going out there. So let's go to the hospital, check on his son. Looks like their brothers are all heading that way, like Dale said. And this is something that obviously I would do too.
Let's check in now with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, we are waiting to get this race restarted. We'll visit with one of the all-time legends, Cale Yarborough, sitting here on the wall. Cale, and signing autographs and talking to a lot of the fans. Now, I got to ask you about a rumor. I heard a rumor that you called Rick Hendrick and said if you'll run a fifth car, you'll drive for him full time.
I told Rick that at the banquet. That if he needed a 70-year-old champion, that I was ready. Yeah.
Now you came to the NASCAR Awards banquet last year, right, and we're on the stage when Jimmy tied you, winning 3 in a row, right, and you got a standing ovation.
Right. Yeah, and I appreciated that. You know, this sport has been good to me, and I've been so blessed to be part of it, and you know. I would love to be making the kind of money these boys are making today, but I wouldn't take anything, Doc, for having been in this sport in the early days. That was when it was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. You know, a lot of people still say today that you are the reason this sport took off in popularity. What happened on that final lap when you got out of the car and single-handedly took on the Alabama gang at Daytona when everybody was watching on national television, and suddenly the ratings took off and people began to come to the racetrack, and that sort of put this sport on the map?
It did, and, you know, I would have rather won that race that day, but it's all right with me if the Allison boys and I had a big part in making this sport what it is today.
Do you have a favorite memory? I mean, you had so many of those 3 championships, driving for Junior, 4 Daytona 500s. What stands out in your mind to this day that's probably one of your most favorite points in your career?
There are a lot of things that stand out. I think winning the 1968 Southern 500 in Darlington, that's where my racing career started. That's my home track. And that was the last race that he ever ran on the old Darlington racetrack. So I won that 1968 race there, and I wouldn't take winning that one for anything in the world. And, you know, I got a pretty good memory here, too. Here at Bristol, they had a 500-lap race here, and I led every one of them, so you can't forget that.
And I remember them all. Thank you so much for so many great memories and coming back and be a part of this great day with us, Cale.
Thank you, Doc.
Cale Yarborough. Marty?
All right, thanks, Doc. And good news for race fans that, you know, we got the good news as far as Larry's condition. Much better than it could have been, and we have refired the engines when we are getting ready back to go under yellow. We have 5 laps remaining here with Rick Wilson out in front of Phil Parsons, L.D. Ottinger, Jack Ingram, and Tommy Houston will be in the top 5. It looks like Phil's going to need a little bump start.
Yeah, it looks like the battery might have died on him right there, and then pop this baby off, get it running. There it goes. He'll pull up behind Rick Wilson again, back in the front there.
We did get word that the teams did have spotters, so we want to update that part of the equation. And I think, you know, what you guys had talked about before that break holds up, you know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, other things that would factor in here, you know, obviously we talked about the speed and your reflexes and your sight. Neither one are quite as good. So, you know, things happening quickly. Even with 20-year-olds here racing, you get involved in things. So, you know, it's even more difficult for guys as they get up into the 70s. So, again, we just wish everybody the very best, make the most of the situation. Rusty, this was always difficult for me. Red flag situation, a big crash. I can remember sitting here. I was in the Busch race whenever Michael Waltrip had his horrific accident over off of turn 2, but trying to get going again.
Yeah, your mind's always thinking about it, and your crew's talking to you. But right now, at this particular point, when this happened to me in the past, my crew would come across me and say, okay, shake it off. Come on, let's get back in the game now. We got 6 or 8 laps to go. It's going to be a shootout. we can win this thing. They would try to flip your mind and change you and get you back on paying attention to the car. I'm sure that's what they're doing to Rick Wilson, Phil Parsons, and L.D. Ottinger. These three guys look real strong right now. And this can be a 5-lap shootout.
So as we get ready to go back to green flag racing, let's check in quickly with Jamie Little, who's got a very happy Justin Allgaier.
Well, yes, he just went to victory lane for the first time in the Nationwide Series. I know we've had some unfortunate circumstances here, but what's it like for you standing here watching all these legends race?
Well, the cool part about it is these guys, they still love this sport so much, and growing up watching a lot of them and being a part of the racing for so long, it's just, there's a lot of history on that racetrack right now, and unfortunately we hate the circumstances the way that they are, but I'm pulling for L.D. Ottinger. We actually, I drew his name earlier today, and so we got him to start on the pole, so I'm rooting for him. He's close. We're not quite there yet, but it's just a good race.
I know he was rooting for you. I have to ask, has it sunk in yet?
Not really. I just told them, they said, what are you going to do after you won? I said, I don't know. What do you do after you win a race in the Nationwide Series? I just enjoy this race and go hang out with my wife and my family and just really try to soak it all in and really enjoy it.
True class act, Justin Allgaier, your Nationwide winner from today at Bristol.
Jamie, tell him it's okay if he sleeps with the trophy tonight. I know a lot of guys have done that after their first win. Let's reset the start for you as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. It'll be Rick Wilson in the 75, right alongside with Phil Parsons. In row 2, L.D. Ottinger, and then the 11 of Jack Ingram. And then in row 3, it's Tommy Houston and Jimmy Hensley in that black quality machine.
Phil needs to get a lot better restart this time. He got smoked last time and needs to be on his game right now. Oh, there goes Wilson.
Boy, and wheel spin for Parsons. As soon as the green flag flies, Wilson was on it. Phil trying to come back underneath, and he's got a run on him.
Yeah, I think Rick Wilson might have missed going into high gear, though. He got a great start, but he might have not got it all the way in there. Gave Phil a chance on the inside here.
There'll be 4 laps to go this time by. Phil Parsons, your new race leader. Rick Wilson right behind him. L.D. Ottinger in 3rd.
And Wilson is driving that car hard. That back end's kicking out, sliding back and forth. I've seen that car loose about 4 or 5 times, Dale.
This time by, there'll be 3 laps remaining, and here comes Wilson on the inside. Can he get him going down into 1? Does he have enough grip on the tires? They're going to run up the hill, and he does. He takes the lead.
How about that move? He didn't let that wiggling bother him at all, did he, Rusty?
Oh, I thought that baby'd spin right out. He was so close to him, and he just kind of brushed against him and kept getting it.
And all of a sudden, he pulls away with 2 laps remaining here at Bristol. L.D. Ottinger trying to reel in the 66 for 2nd spot. And there you get the idea from 1st, 2nd on back to 3rd. The other 3 cars are dropping a little bit further back. This time by, there will be 1 lap remaining. And he is on it right now. In fact, here he is, and we've got...
that was it.
Well,
that was it.
They gave the checker flag before that. Yeah. They snuck a lap out of us. They told us they were going to restart with 5, and they only did 4.
We got so excited we missed the checkered flag, Marty.
They tricked us. They tricked us.
That last lap of 15.86, that would have qualified you about 15th in a nationwide race. That's what Rick Wilson just ran. He was on it that last lap.
Well, congratulations to Rick Wilson. Even though we were 1 lap behind, he was right on time. So 2nd place will go to Phil Parsons, and L.D. Ottinger rounds out the top 3 with Jack Ingram, Tommy Houston, and Jimmy Hensley. The 6 cars that were still running here at the end of our 35-lap showdown event for our legends.
Dale, what do you think when you run a speed that fast like Rick did? I mean, he's got to get out of the car saying, you know what, I can still do this.
That's right. He'll be trying to get somebody to give him a ride back here in August, won't he? In the nationwide race for that
Absolutely.
For that Friday night.
Those are some fast laps.
And the crowd that has stuck around, and you got to remember, folks, this place holds 160,000. There's probably still about, I would say, 10,000, 20,000 maybe that have stuck around.
I'd say at least, I'm looking down here right now, Marty, I'm guessing about 20 to 25,000, probably no more than that. But there's people spread all around this racetrack. They stayed to watch this race. And it was an exciting one. Unfortunate, we had a big crash, but an exciting race nonetheless.
And all we got to do now is get Rick out of the car so we can talk to him.
Rick's going to enjoy every moment of this. He probably hadn't been in victory lane in a while.
As Rick climbs out, he had Nationwide Series wins here at Bristol back in '89. He won from the pole, and Dover that same year. Jamie Little, let's talk to him.
Oh, we talked to Rick Wilson after he got his first few laps of practice, and you said it was just like the old days. Sum up this emotion and winning here today.
This is unbelievable. I mean, this was just like, years ago. The Food Country gang put me a car together just like it was back then, and it was just unbelievable how good this car was. And, Phil tried me. I mean, he tried me there at the last, and, hey, I didn't mind it. Let him go because I knew I could drive right back by him. But, hey, I just want to thank Scott's. I want to thank Bristol Motor Speedway for inviting me here, and, of course, Charlie Henderson, this Food Country gang. Great. They're great.
I have to say, you had some of the best starts of the day. What was it like doing those double file restarts?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, especially when you beat them, it's a great deal. I mean, everything went good. I love coming back. I just hope to have it again.
You're a true legend. Congratulations. Rick Wilson is your winner. Alan?
All right, Jamie, thanks. So Rick Wilson celebrating his victory here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and a look at the final results of the Saturday night showdown at Bristol. Wilson and Parsons pretty much ran 1 and 2 for the latter 3/4 of the race, and you see the rest of the finishing order with the 12 drivers who started in today's event. A couple of updates on some upcoming motorsports programming here on the ESPN networks. It is going to be NASCAR Now pre-race edition before the Sprint Cup race here at Bristol tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Rusty going to be among those from here at the racetrack. NHRA 4 Wide from Charlotte next Saturday and Sunday, qualifying and finals on ESPN2. And Eyes on IndyCar Series coverage is on ABC. That's next Sunday from St. Petersburg, Florida. And the NASCAR Nationwide Series off next weekend. Our coverage resumes here on ESPN at Nashville, Tennessee. 2 weeks from today. Next is the World's Strongest Man here on ESPN2. Updates on Larry Pearson and Charlie Glotchback. Stay tuned for those on our motorsports programming. And our thoughts are certainly with them. Rick Wilson, winner of the Saturday Night Shootout at Bristol 2010.